Hi there, Joka here from A Pocket Full of Happiness, and I'm back with a set of Christmas cards. And this time I did not use Christmas stamps, so I will show you what I did to make these work anyway. So my first choice was the Rainbow Builder stamp set. This was a very popular one, and I just wanted to show you another way to use it during the winter season as well. I chose a Christmas kind of color scheme. I showed you the papers just a second ago. I went with red and pinks and some minty kind of greens. I'm also showing you all the inks that I used, but I will also link them in the description box below in case you want to create the same. So I started with the first panel, and as you can see, it's quite easy to line these up. They will not be perfect. I mean, my first row is far from perfect, but actually you can make them well, you can line them up much better than I did in the first one. You will see in the next rows it's much better. So my thought process with this stamp set is always that I don't want to create a like a repetitive pattern that is all all the same. So I'm just moving the stamp with every row either to the right or to the left, just so that not everything is below each other, you know. I don't know if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm just finishing this up, and then because this is still too much white space for my eyes, I'm trying to add some dots, and you will see something here, another mistake that I did. I don't even know how I didn't think about this. I didn't clean my stamp platform, and somehow my finger touched the ink that was there, and I transferred it onto my card. So I'm just gonna trim that off, and I will figure out a way to use this later. I was not gonna throw this away. So I'm just using the back of my brush for this. I mean, a lot of stamp sets have small circles, or you could use the back of a pen or anything. This was the first thing that I found. So this gives me tiny dots on the background, and I use two colors, a light mint and a light pink for this. I'm going to think about it for a second, what I want to do. I'm planning on using two colors behind this panel. One just a sliver hanging off the edges, and then a bigger one. But before I'm moving on with that card, I'm gonna stamp the other panels. For my next card, I'm using the new Chevron Knit Builder stamp set, and I will use the same colors. And again, I was not very careful when stamping this or lining it up. So here, for instance, you will see that I didn't line it up perfectly, but I actually kind of like that white border. I think next time I'm going to try some pattern where there's more white borders in between. I kind of like that look. Anyway, but you can line it up pretty easily. It's just a little bit of practice, but honestly, it's quite easy. So about the colors, what I normally do, I have two sets of ink swatches because I have the full set from Alta New and the full set from Pinkfresh Studio. The other ones that I have, the other ink pads, they are just like random colors that I didn't find in these full sets. but I'm just normally using these swatches to try to figure out what colors work together and what I want to use on a certain project. And once I'm done with that, I'm also matching them to cardstock. And I mean, now I was actually lucky that I had all those colors available. Sometimes I'm not that lucky, and then I just try to make a close match. Okay, so this panel is done, and I will be moving on to another one that wasn't designed for Christmas, which is one of my favorite stamps, the leopard pattern builder. This is a seamless pattern. That means you can stamp it as many times as you want. You can line them up either going from top to bottom or from side to side. You can line it up as many times as you want. You can cover as big a project as you want. The pattern will always line up. But because of the limitations of the stamp set size, this one will not cover a full A2 panel. So basically you would have to stamp it 3 times if you wanted to cover it. But there's only like a sliver that's missing. I normally just trim it down and then add a different color paper behind it. I don't want to bother stamping it 3 times. So I'm creating two panels with this, a light pink and a light mint color. And now I am going to figure out what I want to do with these cards. I will add some color cardstock behind the two leopard patterns, but first I will have to trim them to size. And also, if you noticed, I changed the color behind the rainbow pattern. I found this darker pool color a bit too dark, so I changed it to a lighter mint. And the next step I'm gonna do, preparing for die cutting, I'm cutting really skinny strips of paper. I don't know if you can tell, but the way I'm doing this, because I really cannot see the size that I'm cutting with this guillotine cutter, I'm using one of the strips as a guide. I'm just lining it up with the edge of the metal there. And of course, it's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be good enough for my purposes. I'm cutting a few strips of every color that I selected earlier. Plus, I will also cut some white because I find that you need a white break here and there. And now I'm using copy paper, like the, just printer paper, to arrange my paper strips. And I'm doing this this summer. I once did the same on a Nina cardstock, and that's actually not a heavyweight. The one that I have is 80 pounds only, but it was way too thick for my die to cut through. I covered the whole panel and then I die cut some flowers that was like a full background die, and it cut so badly and I wasted hours of work on this. Since then, I honestly was not in the mood to do it again. And now I figured I'll try with something thinner and maybe it works. And it worked perfectly fine, but you have to be a bit careful when you remove it from the die because it's a bit flimsy. So I what I did here for this particular design, I die cut these also Jolly from heavyweight cardstock, I think about 4 times, 3 or 4 times, and then I layered them up. I glued them together, and then I will glue the stripe design on top, just so that it's stronger and it's almost like a chipboard piece. I like dimensions, so this is perfect for that. And this die, I believe, is from Mama Elephant, but I will check it later when I add this to the description box. I'm using dyes from other companies here because I don't have any dyes. And I, well, I like stamped cards, but I prefer working with dyes. And so I thought, why not? I always loved mixing and matching different companies' products. So why shouldn't I do it now, right? Okay, and these little holly leaves and holly berries, these are, I believe, from My Favorite Things. And this is like a really small die, so it's very, uh, you can afford to buy it. Sometimes big die sets cost a lot of money, and then of course one thinks about buying it. But I think this one is quite affordable. And I use this on almost every card today, I think. So I die cut all the leaves from various mint colors, from light mint to dark. And now I'm trying to arrange the leaves. You can see me moving it a lot because I did not realize that on top I layered it somehow differently and it looked kind of weird. So I'm trying to recreate what I did at the top. So once I'm done, I'm also adding some foam tape to the little berries so that they can lay flat on the dimensional sentiment. And once this is done, I'm just adding some twine bow. I think you already noticed from previous videos, I'm mostly adding this to every card I make. And then this card is done. So moving on to the next, which is one of the leopard patterns. I did all the die cutting off camera because that took a while, and especially that I die cut everything several times, just like I did with the Also Jolly sentiment. And so, of course, that takes a while and it's not very interesting to watch, I think. So I'm adding, I created my card base, I added the color panel to it, then the leopard panel. And now this one here is from two sets of Concord and Nines dies, I think. Season Off is from a different set than Joy, but I'm going to link these in the description box so you know. So I use the other part of the striped paper that I made for the Joy. I really like the look of this. And then Season I cut from the lighter, from the darker pink that I chose before, and Off from the lighter pink. And now I'm just going to glue everything down, and as you can see, I'm using the same holly leaves and berries for this card as well, except I'm going to add three of them. I mean 3 times 3, so basically 3 clusters. This Season sentiment is quite, well, skinny, so it's a bit, yeah, not so easy to layer it up properly. But I think it works fine here. And I think I'm going to use another, I just can't remember. Oh, it's Cheers from that same die set. And there, at some part, I kind of didn't manage to line it up properly, but my glue is so fast drying, I couldn't do anything about it. I will show you later. I think that's gonna be used on the rainbow card. All right, and once I glue these in place, I'm just going to bend up the leaves just so that they don't lay so flat, and then it's done. Also, this die set has not just the cluster of berries, like you see the bottom layer, but it also has a few single berries, which is now what I'm adding on top with a foam dot. Just again, just for some dimension, because I like that texture. And again, some twine, and this card is going to be done. I don't know, what do you think about the leopard? I really think that for me the color comes first, so I don't even notice that this is not a Christmas pattern, to be honest. I think the colors make it festive. Yeah, so that's it. And now moving on to the rainbow panel. So like I said, I chose a lighter mint color instead of the previous pool color. And now I'm just making my card base, trimming it down, like you've seen me do this a million times now. And then I will just center the dark green on top of the panel, and then on top of that I'm just going to add the rainbow one. I like this, you know, when just a sliver of the color is peeking through. I do this often on scrapbook layouts as well. Sometimes I just use a paper strip, because that is a bit more, you know, economical, so to say, but I wanted this to be a thicker card, so I just used the full panel. All right, so now I'm trying to prepare like a circle element for my sentiment, and for this I used some vellum from Alexandra Renke, and on top of that just white cardstock. And I am using this die from Concord and Nines, and this is what I was telling you about. I don't think you can see it from here, but it's the R is so skinny at the bottom. That's where I kind of it kind of twisted the red, so you can see the white die cut under it. Maybe in the close-up shot it's going to be easier to see, but I think it's not a huge issue. And then there is the holiday banner that is, I think it's also from the same set as Cheer. And as you can see, I die cut that several times so that I can have different color letters filled in there. And because I did this, I ended up with several of those banners. So I had red, I had green, I had pinks. So once I'm done with the 4 cards that I planned to do, I'll have all those die cut leftovers, and I just don't like to throw away things. So I will end up making a 5th card at the end of this video. All right, so back to my knit pattern. I'm trimming down the card base, and then I'm going to add some die cuts to this one as well. It's one of my favorite sets, actually. This was the set that got me hooked on Concord and Ninth back then. I think this was maybe 3 Christmases ago. This is the die set, but they also have a stamp set to go with this, and it's just so wonderful. It's so clever. I use it every year for Christmas. So I die cut the letters from different colors, and then the O is basically a wreath, which I backed with white cardstock. And all these die cuts, the letters and the wreath, are several layers, I believe 4 layers of paper, just again for dimension. And as you see, I use the same My Favorite Things holly leaf dies. Oh, and this here, this little star is also part of that Concord and Nine set. And I had a little bit of leftover of those striped paper that I created earlier. And again, I hate throwing away things, especially when I worked on it for a while. I just die cut the star from it, and I thought, even though the background is already colorful, I thought it's perfect there. That's that colorful star. I like it. Okay, I'm finishing up, and here I'm actually using pink berries with just a touch of red, because I thought there's too much red already on the card, at least for my taste. So yeah, so I went with pink. Then twine, as always, and then this card is also finished. I like the knit pattern for winter, actually all year. Okay, so this is where I decided to go with a fifth card. Excuse me. And for this one, I'm using the trellis background, which is also from the new release. Also a really versatile background that you can use the whole year for any occasion, really. And I stamped this in a light pink ink, and now I'm cutting down the card panel. These are all of these cards are top folding A2 size cards. This is, I think, 99% of my cards. I mean, if I do slim lines, it's different, but if I do A2 size cards, it's never side folding. I prefer this for some reason. It's also easier to photograph, to be honest, because side folding, you would have to put some kind of glue, like temporary glue inside the card so that it keeps the front in place. So I just kind of stuck with this. And now, as you see, these are the banners that I was talking about earlier. And I'm just adding them on some Nina solar white cardstock and fussy cut them out. Here I'm not going to add any of the little letters back. It's just really backed like I normally would do with a cut file. And I also had this poinsettia die cut already. It's one of my cut files. It's in the digital shop, and I already had this pre-cut from an leftover from an earlier project. And I really like when I find things like that, you know, that I keep and then I can finally use it for something. So, and I think it was even the same red paper as the holiday banner. So it worked out perfectly. And then I also had 3 leftover leaves. So perfect. This is the leftover card, but I think I still like how it turns out. So I'm basically lining up the top and the bottom. Oh yeah, the one thing that I had to die cut for this is the greetings. That's also the same die set, and I think there are several more banners in that one. So I'm lining up the top and the bottom banners so that they are parallel to the card, and then the other ones I just attach kind of crooked, just for some fun. And now I'm just gluing down the flower there, and I will add a glitter enamel dot in the middle. And that's it. I did not add twine to that one. Look at that. All right, so this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I could give you some ideas to use your non-holiday themed background stamps for holiday cards. Thanks for stopping by today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.